Welcome tonight, everybody. This is our last chapter of None Dare Call It Conspiracy with me, Melissa from Catch the Buzz, and my friend Christian.
Hi.
He's in California, and I'm here in Idaho. Anyways, we're grateful. Sorry.
Hi.
Hold on. He's in California, and I'm here. I got to turn that down. I'm grateful to have you guys here with us tonight. We would love to know where you are from. I'm here in Idaho, and Christian's over there in sunny California.
Yep. Welcome from California. Hey, everyone.
So anyways, we wanted to, head off with this last chapter. It's been quite something to see all these different things that are happening in the world and to see what's been going on in our country in particular, in the United States of America. Sorry, I hope you could hear me all right. Anyways, welcome tonight, everybody. Sorry, let me turn that down. But yeah, I know that there's been a lot of people saying different things about what they think and feel about conspiracy and that type of thing. But we know that in the scriptures that we have those records for a reason. And there was the same things that happened back then happen now, but they look a little different. The names are different, the places are different, but the message is still the same, which is to have people not have faith in God and not believe that he will care for them, and to, as Satan did in the Garden of Eden, when we first have knowledge and understanding of him, he was tempting them to be afraid of God. And so anyways, what are some thoughts that you've had as we've been reading through this, Christian?
Well, it talks about, evil people basically that are conspiring, and they do have a lot of power, but they don't have all power. And there are things that individuals can do, that small groups of people can do. And that kind of leads into this chapter. It's the last chapter, and it's talking about things people can actually do. I listened to it twice, all the way through, in little bits and pieces apart from that. And one of the things it says, and we'll get to it in the reading, but it says the bad people basically expect that if somebody wakes up to what's going on, that they'll just instantly give up. So they don't care if you don't know what they're doing, or if you know what they're doing and don't do anything. But if you do something, that changes the game for them. They don't wake up and give up.
Yeah. Well, and the description we have for this chapter says, in a world where power, influence, and control often operate behind closed doors, how can we discern truth from deception? And I would say that hasn't been any more prevalent than right now with the era of AI right now. Artificial intelligence, it's April of 2026. And today we're going to talk about, as I said, chapter 8, and the last chapter of None Dare Call It Conspiracy, and examine the hidden forces that shape societies, the spiritual responsibility we each have to seek truth, remain vigilant, and stand anchored in Christ, as Christian just said. As systems of influence grow more complex, the Lord has not left us without guidance. Through scripture and modern prophets, we are warned to be watchful, wise, and spiritually prepared. We'll discover in this video how secret combinations and corruption are described in scripture, why spiritual discernment is more critical than ever, how to remain grounded in truth through Jesus Christ, the role of agency, accountability, and light in a world of confusion. And here are some of the relevant scriptures. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers of the darkness of this world. That's Ephesians 6:12. And then it says, take heed that no man deceive you. And that's in Matthew 24:4. But in the Book of Mormon, it says, and it came to pass that they formed a secret combination to get power and gain. Ether 8:18, it says, oh, sorry, that was Ether 8:18. Okay. Then it says, wherefore the Lord commandeth you that ye shall awake to a sense of your awful situation. And that's at Ether 8:24. Doctrine and Covenant says that every man may act in doctrine and principle according to the moral agency which I have given unto him. That's in D&C 101:78. And of course, as Christian just said, talking about, standing up and doing something. The only safety we have as members of this church is to do exactly what the Lord said, which is follow the prophet. And that's from Ezra Taft Benson. Says, we live in a time of great deception. Only those who have the companionship of the Holy Ghost will be able to discern truth. And then the truth is not always popular, but is always right, is what Ezra Taft Benson says. And I'll leave off the last one for we'll go ahead. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And that is from George Orwell.
He wrote 1984.
So the final thought here is, while the world may grow darker with confusion and hidden agendas, the light of Jesus Christ shines brighter than ever. We are not called to live in fear, but in faith, awareness, and courage. As we seek truth through the Spirit, we can navigate these times with confidence, knowing that God's purposes will prevail. And that's the message that we want to hit home to people, is to make sure to know that Heavenly Father has provided a way. And even though they just want us to think everything is bleak all the time, and just, they want to drive that message home, we know that our Father is in charge. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and read the first page. I read a page, Christian reads a page, and we'll just make some commentary. Or is there anything that you wanted to say quickly before we get going on the book?
I think I said my little preface, and I'm going to pull up the reading part.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start out, and then we'll have your page here. Okay. Many people cannot refrain from rationalizing after read. Oh, and sorry, if you're in the chat, we would love to know where you're from. Hello. I see some people. Welcome. And more to come on this channel as well. And I'm wondering if you have ever read None Dare Call It Conspiracy, or if you have heard of this book. It's just very timely for the things that are going on right now. Anyways, many people cannot refrain from rationalizing. After reading this book, some will bemoan the fact that the situation is hopeless. These will be many of the same people who, before reading this book, really did not believe the problems facing us were serious. Some people wake up and give up in the same week. This is, of course, just exactly what the insiders want you to do. The conspiracy can be defeated. The insiders are not omnipotent. It is true that they control important parts of the federal government, high finance, and the mass media, but they do not control everything, or the vice would already have been closed. We might say the conspiracy controls everything, but you are the Achilles heel if you are willing to fight. There is an old cliche in sports that quitters never win and winners never quit. We need 1 million Americans who are not quitters, but moreover, who have the will to win. And I would say even more now, it's not just Americans, it's people of the world. And now with the technologies we have, we're so connected. I mean, I just did a live stream earlier today with my friend in Kenya. And it's amazing how we can just be doing a video chat and be like, hey, you want to do this? Let's go do it now. So what amazing opportunities we have just at our fingertips, in our pocket. And
I went and saw that when you said you felt like you should do that earlier today.
Yeah, and why I like live streams is I feel like the gospel is alive. We're alive, and we need to be helping people to realize that there are like answers out there, and there's a firm foundation for people to build on, and the Savior to hold on to.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right, let's see. Okay, so like I said, we need people all over the world, not just in America. And I would love to know where you're from in the chat. If you would love to say where you're from. I'm in Idaho, and Christian here is in California. My husband's in the living room. And thank you to Thomas, who's so good at running all these live streams for me.
Thomas?
His 26 years of marriage. Yeah, he's a patient man.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right. Of course, you can't buck the conspiracy head on, trying to fight it on its home grounds, but the insiders are vulnerable to an end run. You and thousands of others like you can make an end run if you want to. It is our intention in this closing chapter to show why it can be done and how you can do it. The timing for an end run has never been better. And let's keep in mind that this was in the 70s, the early 70s. What Barry Goldwater said in 1964, people were willing to believe in 1968. Most people who voted for Nixon did so because he promised to balance the budget, not establish wage and price controls, slash government spending, not multiply it, cut welfare, not push for a guaranteed annual income, which expanded health and welfare and government assistance. Spending, okay, let's see. Stand firm against the communists, not lead the Red Chinese into the United Nations. Build America's defenses, not continue to unilaterally disarm us. And stop aid and trade with our avowed communist enemies, not double it. And I know, as we've seen some of this fraud happening, those are some of the exact things that are going on in 2026. Let's see. These were the issues which supposedly differentiated Nixon from Humphrey. Now we see that Nixon has repudiated his own promises and carried out those of his opponent by 1972. Millions of Americans will have concluded that there is little difference between the leadership of the two major parties, and more people are beginning to realize that there is a tiny clique of conspirators at the top, which controls both the Democrat and Republican parties. Well, I know for me, so that's the end of my page, but I was watching something in Congress, and I'm not sure how I would even look up this video, but it was interesting because they had like AOC and who they refer to as the squad, and they were all wearing different insignia, like scarves and things that were very like reminiscent and supportive of like the Middle East and like Saddam Hussein and that type of thing. And so we're like, okay, what political statements here, you're supposed to be U.S. citizens representing your constituents, the people of your state. But then so that's the Democrats. And then on the right side, you had people wearing these like truck driver hats of like, make America great again and scarves and stuff or something. It was just ridiculously comical. And to me, it just was like a showing of how far we have gone, that I was like, this is like kids doing a play or something. Are these supposed to be adults?
Well, they should all wear their corporate sponsors stickers too.
Like a NASCAR race car. That's so funny.
The big decals.
Oh my gosh. That would be honest, at least, kind of.
Transparency, really.
Yeah, which is what they talk about. Let me be clear with you. To be transparent, it's like, okay, so this is going to be followed by a lie.
Yeah.
Preface to a lie. All right.
You want transparency. You want me to go on?
Yeah. So the one thing, that's what you have.
Okay. The one thing these conspirators cannot survive is exposure. There we go. We're just talking about that. Just, tell what's going on. Tell what's actually going on. The insiders are successful only because so few of their victims know what is being planned and how insiders are carrying out those plans. Conspiracies can only operate in the dark. They cannot stand the truthful light of day. Once any sizable minority of the American people becomes aware of the conspiracy and what it is up to, the many decades of patient planning and work by the insiders in this country can be destroyed in an amazingly short period of time. Okay? This job is largely a matter of getting others to realize that they have been conned and are continuing to be conned. You must become the local arm of the world's largest floating university. But before you can go to work, pointing out these conspiratorial facts to others, you must know the facts yourself. This book is designed to give you these facts and can be your greatest tool. It is available on tape cassettes. There you go. This is, I think, being written in 1971. And so that you can virtually memorize its contents by listening to it repeatedly. Well, I listened to it, through the public library app on my phone, and that worked. And then it says, so you can listen to it repeatedly while you are washing the dishes. Right?
Right, yep.
I had forgotten that part. And then I told you, I'm going to listen to it again while I wash the dishes. And then I played that part. I'm like, here I am washing the dishes. And it mentioned that. Or,
look at the subliminal messaging here.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at how that. Oh. Wow, what a coinky dink. or driving to and from work. The concept of an army, and I was trying to think how many people in 1971, 72, that era, were playing the tape in their car.
Yeah.
I think there were cassette players in cars at that time, but I think it was a little bit before it got really widespread.
Yeah.
Anyways, the concept of an army of individuals, which is dedicated to exposing the conspiracy, frightens the insiders because it works outside the channels which they control. So just knowing that is helpful. Richard Nixon has said of the Republican Party, we've got to have a tent everyone can get into. The Democrats have obviously believed that for a long time. But a party must be based on principles. I have my desktop monitor try to time out on me, so I'm moving my mouse around. There we go. But a party must be based on principles or it has no justification for existence. Bringing socialists into the Republican Party theoretically may broaden the base, but in reality serves only to disfranchise those who believe in a constitutional republic and the free enterprise system. In 1972, the Republicans will try to make you forget that Richard Nixon was elected on George Wallace's platform, but has been carrying out Hubert Humphrey's. The pitch will be party unity. If not Nixon, then who? Will be the typical response to complaints about Nixon's actions. But unity with evil is evil. During the campaign of 1972, Nixon will again talk conservatively, while the CFR's Democrat candidate will sound frighteningly radical in order to stampede you into accepting Nixon as the lesser of two evils. So there, as he's writing this, as the author is typing all this up, they're getting ready for the 1972, campaign and election period. The establishment may even run its John Lindsay or Eugene McCarthy as a far left third or fourth party candidate in order to split the Democratic Party and reelect Richard Nixon with a comparatively small number of votes. So that might be what ended up happening.
Well, and it was interesting to me because as I was reading this part where they talked about the lesser of two evils, I remember like it's always going to be in my mind when in 2016, and I'm sitting there on the floor in our living room, and we're up late at night, and it was what was 2015 because it was election for 2016, and I'm sitting there. The wall was discussed a lot by Trump at the time, and I'm building a wall with Legos for the occasion, and I was sitting there like, are these really the two candidates we have to choose from? I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was very peculiar.
It's like, what time, what are we living in that this is? Because I remember my husband and I used to watch The Apprentice and stuff, and we did like that show that Donald Trump was on, and I think that's probably the
You're
best.
fired.
Huh?
You're fired.
But you know, I appreciated him on that show. I thought it was quite good, but yeah, thankfully things had turned out well.
Well, it was usual to see him as a TV show host all of a sudden running for the office of President of the United States of America when he had never had any political office before, and I don't think had ran before at all.
No, not as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah. So that was unique.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you have anything else to say about your section that you have?
I think I might be good for now. It's making me it is bringing up a thought that I think will get covered as we read a little bit more.
All right. So should I go ahead then?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. It is only logical that the insiders will try to apply the coup de grace against America through a Republican president simply because most people cannot believe that a Republican could be soft on communism or would jeopardize our liberty, our sovereignty. The watchdogs tend to go to sleep with a Republican in office. Democrats and Republicans must break the insider control of their respective parties. The CFR types and their flunkies and social climbing opportunists supporters must be invited to leave, or else the patriots must leave. It is up to you to put the politicians on the spot and make the CFR insiders a campaign issue. This can be accomplished easily by creating the base of thinking that will oppose their positions. The socialists must be forced to gather into one party. The conspiracy doesn't want the resultant clear distinction between party ideologies. The insiders want the issues between the parties to be cloudy and gray, centering on personalities, not principles. Neither party can come out strongly against socialism as long as it is pushing socialist programs. But that is the way the insiders want it. The issue, very simply, is the enslavement of you and your children. Just because many of these insiders are theoretically Americans, don't think they will spare this country. The terror they have brought to 30 others through their hired communist thugs. To the insiders, the world is their country, and their only loyalty is to themselves and their fellow conspirators. No loyalty to God, right? Being an American means no more to them than being an honorary citizen of Bali would mean to you. It has not bothered their consciences one iota that millions of your fellow human beings have been murdered, including 50,000 of your own sons in Vietnam, in order to solidify their power in the United States. They will need to do here the same thing they have done in other countries. They will establish and maintain their dictatorship through stark terror. The terror does not end with the complete takeover of the republic rather than terror just begins. For total, all-encompassing terror is an absolute necessity to keep a dictatorship in power. We're going to come back and talk about the pandemic again in just a minute. And terror does not mean merely punishing the enemies of the new order. Terror requires the murdering and imprisoning of people at random, even many of those who helped them come to power. Those who are complacent and hope to escape the terror because they were not involved in politics or resisted the new order coming to power must be made by you to understand that this all-encompassing need for terror includes them especially, that they cannot escape by doing nothing. All right, let's see. Thomas, can you pull up the timing of state? Let's see. I guess I can pull it over here. I'm going to do the timing of state and territorial COVID-19, stay at home. Let's see if it's coming up on the screen or not. I'll wait a minute to see if it comes up. If not, I'll just be reading it anyways. Thomas, could you bring up this? Yeah, it's the next one that I have here. Oh, do I need to change it? I think I gotta change it down here. Sorry, hold on, guys, just a second. Let me do this again because I gotta choose the right one. Okay, there we are. Okay, let's see if he gets that pulled up. All right. There we go. Okay. So this reminded me of during the pandemic. In the last chapter, we read about make sure they don't restrict passports or anything like that. Or one of the things on their list was to restrict movement even within the United States. So it's interesting. It's just a bizarre twilight zone when you pull this stuff up. That was so normalized, right? In 2020, it's just normalized. This is just how it is, guys.
Yep.
Timing of state and territorial COVID-19 stay-at-home orders. Just saying that, stay-at-home orders. What the heck? And changes in population movement. United States, March 1st to May 31st. So this is September 4th, 2020.
Well, one of the sad things is that from the research I was doing back then, it seemed like the virus thrived more indoors.
Oh, right.
You were more likely to catch the virus inside than outside. Which
was a point that was brought up how many different times, but they just kind of kept trying to shut everybody up and squash them down. I think that they accounted for their own ability to manipulate through technology, but didn't take into account what other people could do.
Yeah.
Because we're just ants to them, Yeah. Anyways. Hey, anybody in the chat, we'd love to hear from you and what you think about these things that we're talking about. If you've heard of Neanderthal conspiracy and any experiences you want to share. So read this for a minute. The SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes coronavirus disease, is thought to spread from person to person, primarily by the respiratory route and mainly through close contact. Community mitigation strategies can lower the risk for disease transmission by limiting or preventing person-to-person interactions. U.S. states and territories began implementing various community mitigation policies in March of 2020. One widely implemented strategy was the issuance of orders requiring persons to stay at home, resulting in decreased population movement in some jurisdictions. That just sounds normal, right? Like what the... Each state or territory has authority to enact its own laws and policies to protect the public's health, and jurisdictions varied widely in the type and timing of orders issued related to stay-at-home requirements. To identify the broader impact of these stay-at-home orders using publicly accessible anonymized location data from mobile devices. What doesn't sound bad about that, right? What?
Big
CDC and the Georgia Tech Research Institute analyzed changes in population movement relative to stay-at-home orders issued March 1st through March 31st by all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and 5 U.S. territories during this period. 42 states, I'll just finish this paragraph, 42 states and territories issued mandatory stay-at-home orders. So 42 out of 50. Then when counties subject to mandatory state and territory issued stay-at-home orders were stratified along rural-urban categories, movement decreased significantly relative to the pre-order baseline in all strata. That sounded confusing. I think they did it on purpose. Mandatory stay-at-home orders can help reduce activities associated with the spread of COVID-19, including population movement and close person-to-person contact outside of the household. And I know that one of the things that they weren't happy about is with Trump being in office, he was like, let's let the states decide. And they're like, no. We got to tell them because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know anything. We got to tell them what to do. And I know that this was one of those things that was brought up too with Fauci. People were like, this guy's making a lot of money. He's making a lot of decisions. How does this guy have this position? What is going on? You know, there was a lot of red flags going up for people. Yeah, and I just remember I was supposed to be going out of town. I was supposed to be going to a wedding. And it was in Utah, and I just was like, okay, we're on the bubble here. Like, this was like the weekend before they were closing everything for the 2 weeks. And I just felt like I couldn't, in good conscience, as a temple worker at the time, I just felt like I just needed to not go, which was really sad. It was really hard to not get to go. But, you know, I just kind of was like, okay, if I'm going to try and be honest, and we believe in, you know, being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. And I just thought, even though this is the weekend before, I just didn't feel right about it. You know, but I had a niece that got baptized, and I was like, oh, the limit's 10. Our family at the time was 9. Wow. I was like, how can we go? I mean, if I had to do it again, I wish I had sent just like myself and my daughter that was the same age. But we were trying to be obedient, you know.
Yeah, and I remember, well, at the very beginning of it was new to everybody, and I was thinking, well, hopefully the government acts in a reasonable way. And I kind of held out that hope that would be the case. And then as time went on, I'm like, something maybe is not exactly right here.
I know my brain started catching on when I was like sanitizing like the door handle and sanitizing like the steering wheel. And I was like, wow, this is what it's like to be like a hypochondriac. But then I realized I was like, okay, or to be a person with an autoimmune, you know, compromised autoimmune system. And so to me, that was kind of the thing is like, are we picking up our stones and ready to judge and persecute, or are we caring about people? And that's what was happening to me, you know.
Yep.
But anyways, I'm good whenever you're ready to go on to your next page, which is 104.
Okay, we've got several people watching now. Welcome, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Okay, I'm going to start at the top of 104. What can we expect from the conspiracy during the next few years? Here are 14 signposts on the road to totalitarianism compiled some years ago by historian Dr. Warren Carroll and a refugee from Yugoslavian communism, Mike Georgievich. The list is not in any particular order, nor is the order of any particular significance as given here. But the imposition of any one of these new restrictions on liberty, none of which was in effect when the list was compiled, would be a clear warning that the totalitarian state is very near. And once a significant number of them, perhaps 5 have been imposed, we can rationally conclude that the remainder would not be far behind and that the fight for freedom and the preservation of the republic has been lost in this country. Okay, so I'm going to read the 14 signposts to slavery. 1, restrictions on taking money out of the country and on the establishment or retention of a foreign bank account by an American citizen. 2, abolition of private ownership of handguns. That's been more of a thing. 3, detention of individuals without judicial process. That's been something of a thing.
Oh, yeah.
4, requirements that private financial transactions be keyed to social security numbers or other government identification so that government records of these transactions can be kept and fed into a computer. Now we hear about stuff like that from time to time too. Like we're going to keep track of every transaction you make, and you better be happy with that.
Yeah.
5, use of compulsory education laws to forbid attendance at presently existing private schools, or we can maybe add homeschooling. There. 6, compulsory non-military service. 7, compulsory psychological treatment for non-government workers or public school children. 8, an official declaration that anti-communist organizations are subversive. Wow. And subsequent legal action taken to suppress them. 9, laws limiting the number of people allowed to meet in a private home. Did that happen?
Right?
I think that might have happened.
Right? Oh my gosh.
They were even saying things like, oh, now that Thanksgiving is coming up, you can have up to
gosh.
people in your home, or I don't remember the number, but it was something very restrictive when, Thanksgiving tends to be one of the biggest gathering times of the year, like for an indoor thing.
Yeah, just to hear the words of them saying, you can now have, it's like, what? Oh, so crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
People say like, oh, they were testing to see what people would put up with.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, number 10. Any significant change in passport regulations to make passports more difficult to obtain or use. That could tie in with the real ID thing, maybe. 11, wage and price controls, especially in a non-wartime situation. So there's that. Me and Jeanette, we don't fly a heck of a lot, but we did fly back in August, and we were going through one of the airports, and all the travel was within the country, but one of them, we noticed that they had these like little kiosk things where you're supposed to step up and have your picture taken for such and such a thing. And the first time I thought, I just was like, well, I guess that's what they do now. Then the next I saw a note that said, oh, this is just a volunteer thing. You don't have to do it. I'm like, everybody is stepping up to it as though they have to do it. So I thought about that when I was reading that passport thing there. Okay,
that feels kind of creepy. Yeah.
Well, pay attention to that when you travel. It's a volunteer thing. Okay, I'm going on to the next page, and I see a lot of butterflies. which is nice. Number 12, any kind of compulsory registration with the government of where individuals work. 13, any attempt to restrict freedom of movement within the United States. And then finally, 14, and the guy said it's not in any particular order. 14, any attempt to make a new major law by executive decree. That is actually put into effect, not merely authorized as by existing executive orders. So there's 14 things to watch out for. I think in the intervening time since he wrote this, we've seen some of those kind of come into play more than others, but some of it's been happening.
But I think almost all of them, scarily, it seems like to me, in one way or another, whether it be in our part of the world or other parts of the world, I think we can pretty much check everything off the box, whether it be in our country or another. You know, compulsory, non-military service, just.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a reason why President Oaks said, this is a test and you have passed. And it was like, some people miss that. Did you hear that when President Oaks said that during the pandemic?
That sounds very interesting. I know there's a lot of talk about the jab.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, President Nelson said, "Speak with your doctor about it." I don't think he said you must get it and don't ask any questions. I think he kind of encouraged. I think it was encouraged somewhat, but I think he also said, "Speak with your doctor about it."
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did not get the jab.
Mm-hmm.
I do know friends that traveled and were told when they traveled, and they were going to funerals and things where they kind of had to go, and they were told you can't fly to your family member's funeral unless you get this, and they reluctantly got it. I think I might have had COVID in January 2021. And they were talking at that time, they started talking about these different variants, and they had a couple different names for the different variants. Mm-hmm. And at one point in time, they said, well, the new variant now is called the Omicron variant. And it said, here's the symptoms of it. It said it will be really bad for a while, and then it will go away. And it mentioned a couple other things. And then it said, here's the key thing. Once you've had it and you get over it, you will be immune to COVID and any subsequent variant. And so what I was experiencing for 2 or 3 weeks back in early 2021, I'm like, this really fits the list of symptoms they gave. I'm not going to go get it diagnosed. It seemed close enough. It was not fun to go through. It eventually went away. And I thought, I might have gotten something that's truly effective, like the jab. I may have, in a way, in a roundabout, indirect way, gotten it without going to get the needle.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's the story I tell myself. I'm sticking to it until I hear counter information that might counter it.
Well, and that's what it was all about, is the rules and the guidelines and the opinions about it, and the knowledge about it kept changing. So it was like, so people would be just so hard-nosed about something, and it's like, yeah, till they change their mind tomorrow.
One of the things that made me reluctant to get it was that I feel like for me, any vaccine could make what I experienced worse. And I'd seen things, information to that effect. And I'm like, I can't have it getting worse on me.
Yeah. Yep. It was a call to people, I think, to take care of their health, you know.
But I know it was. I know President Nelson was talking about, and you're bringing up what President Oak said, and I probably heard it, but you are definitely bringing it up in a way that kind of new to me. So
I know it's funny how it, like I said, in the moment stuff, you just get. It's like an amusement park ride that has gradually started going up. You don't notice that you got up so high until maybe you're almost at the top, and you're like, oh, well, we're going down. Whoa, that's a long ways down. I feel like that's what happened to us. You know. Welcome. We'd love to know any thoughts or anything in the chat where you're from when you join here. But yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get going on the next page here.
Yep.
As you are no doubt aware, President Nixon already has invoked numbers 1, 11, and 14. Steps 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, 12, and 13 already have been proposed, and some are actively campaigned for by organized groups. As of January 1st, 1972, banks must report to the government any deposit or withdrawal over $5,000. The next step will be to restrict the taking of money out of the country. Big Brother is watching your bank account. Increased government control over many kinds of private schools is proposed annually in many state legislatures. Compulsory non-military service, a universal draft of all young men and women, with only a minority going into the armed services, has been discussed by the Nixon administration as an alternative to the draft. Sensitivity training is already required for an increasing number of government workers, teachers, and school children. And to me, that's like, I'm like, sensitivity training. I'm like, but that's just been like our, well, gosh, what did they call that? It's kind of like an ethnic awareness or something like that. Yeah, what is it? Equity training. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was surprised when I was listening to this that they were saying that using the term sensitivity training back in the early 70s.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. As long ago as 1961, Victor Reuther proposed that anti-communist groups and organizations be investigated and placed on the Attorney General's subversive list. The propaganda war in progress to force registration or confiscation of firearms is the number one priority of all the collectivists. An armed citizenry is the major roadblock to a totalitarian takeover of the United States. You are in this fight whether you want to be or not. Unless you are an insider, you are a victim. Whether you are a multimillionaire or a pauper, you have an enormous amount at stake. The insiders are counting on your being too preoccupied with your own problems or too lazy to fight back, while the chains of slavery are being fastened on you. They are counting on their mass media to con you, frighten you, or ridicule you out of saving your freedom. And most of all, they're counting on your thinking you can escape by not taking part in opposing their takeover. They are also counting on those of you who recognize the conspiracy becoming so involved with watching all moves that you become totally mesmerized by their machinations, and thus, what is it?
Machinations with like a kick sound.
Yeah, machinations, and thus become incapable of acting. The choice is yours. You can say it can't happen here, but nearly every one of the 1 billion people enslaved by the communists since 1945, doubtless said the same thing. Or you can end run this whole conspiratorial apparatus. The choice you must make was enunciated by Winston Churchill when he told the people of England, if you will not fight for right, when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have no to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. Because we have ignored warning after warning, we are now at that place in history. Unless you do your part now, you will face a further choice. Also described by Mr. Churchill, he said, there may be even a worse fate. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than live as slaves. Let's see, Thomas, can you pull up the other one that I have here, the Operation Safe Haven, to put on there for everybody to see? Thomas, please. So this comes from, as he's pulling that up, I'll just tell you what it's about here, but U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So on here it says, this is about Operation Safe Haven. I'm just going to go ahead and read because I'm not sure if he's going to get it pulled up or not. Operation Safe Haven. And it's interesting. I was trying to look up something else, and then I came up with this, and it just fit perfectly with what we're talking about. But it says, in November 1956, a failed revolt against communism in Hungary spurred the greatest refugee crisis in Europe. Since the end of World War II, President Dwight D. Eisenhower and his administration, including the Immigration and Naturalization Services, moved swiftly in response. Through the hard work of INS employees, as well as the State Department, the military, and civilian volunteers, over 30,000 refugees resettled in the United States over an 8-month period. The success of Operation Safe Haven set a precedent for the U.S. to respond to humanitarian crises through expanded presidential powers. And so that's the interesting thing when it talks about in the other chapter we read about how they will move populations of people. And that's part of why they have the wars that they have. And another thing is I had a friend, when we talk about these, kind of conspiracy things, I had a friend who was a fireman in our ward. And I asked him about the Paradise Fire.
Oh, yeah.
And because they'd say, oh, it's so bad in California. It's terrible. We need all these resources. We need all these material. We need more people. And I said, hey, so how are things going? He's like, we're just sitting there. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they don't need as much as what they're saying, or they're like not letting them work or whatever. And he said that we also have like all these supplies sitting here that are not necessary. And it's sad how they just use these different things to say, there's a crisis. We need a bunch of money. But then we don't know where all the money goes.
Yep.
It's just
presenting a crisis so that money can be moved and people can grab at the money as it moves.
Yep. And it's just what we have to do. There's just nothing suspicious to see here. Look at how benevolent and kind, and we just got to survive. We just got to do this. So
follow the money.
Yeah, it's very sad. I'm like, how did the people sleep at night? Apparently on a big pile of money, and they're okay with that, or they've just been taught that this is how it is. It's very sad.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else you want to say, or because your page is next whenever you're ready?
Well, yeah, you're bringing up the fires in California, and I saw a Babylon Bee report. It said California California Governor Gavin Newsom empties out reservoirs in preparation for fire season, which is funny and sad.
Well, and I always thought about like Las Vegas also being kind of a desert place and not having enough water. And then I'm watching this report and they're like, oh, flooding in Las Vegas. And I'm like, wait a minute, they have a whole bunch of water. Why is that not being utilized? If there's so much that's flooding.
Yeah, the resources are present, but they're being mismanaged.
Accidentally, right? They just don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think it is frustrating. Do you want me to start reading from the top of 107?
Yep.
Okay. What will you do if you are unwilling to get involved because you feel it may be bad for business or it may jeopardize your social respectability? Just look into the eyes of your children and tell them that making a buck and climbing the social ladder are more important to you than they are. This is the end of our case. If you have decided not to do anything about it, then you can close this book, read no further, and turn out the light. That is just what you will be doing for the United States of America, and may God help us. And may He have mercy on your soul. If you decide that you will do something that you at least are not yet controlled, read on. Pick up the ball we are tossing you, and with thousands of others, let's end run the conspiracy. Here's how. The four keys in this program are, number one, you. So the individual matters. He goes on to say, what you do now is, of course, the key to this whole operation. If you delay, your motivation will wane, your concern will recede, but the danger will increase. Remember, the insiders don't care how much you know about their conspiracy, so long as you don't do anything about it. What's the good men doing nothing quote?
Yeah.
So keep reading and then act. Number two, this book, none dare call it conspiracy. In writing this book, we have tried to give a concise overall picture of the nature of the conspiracy. We wrote it not only to explain the conspiracy, but to give you a complete program of action now, so that the many yous around the country would not necessarily have to be articulate salesmen to make your end run. You can simply pass this book out and let it do the job for you. The conspiracy may be able to stifle publicity on this book and keep it off the magazine rack at your local supermarket, but they can't stop you from distributing it to friends, neighbors, relatives, and business associates, and especially in your precinct. With a potential 30 million distribution of this book to those mentioned above, and in a manner yet to be described, you will create a base of opinion that will throw the insiders out. It is quite possible that in distributing this book, questions will come up concerning certain statements and conclusions with which you are not able to deal. Okay. There are a number of organizations that have well-documented material on all subjects raised in this book. But after considerable personal research, the author has concluded that the organization which is the leader in this field has had the most experience and is doing the best job of exposing the conspiracy is the John Birch Society. I remember hearing about them in the early 90s.
All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about from your portion that you read there, Christian?
Well, I just think it's great that he's saying that individuals can do things and small groups on the local level. And it ties in with what I said a few episodes ago about it. It starts with people waking up, and then based on what he's saying in this chapter, don't wake up and then give up. Wake up and then take action. going to work out a little different for each person, but there's, something each person can do. I think me and you are raising awareness here.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yes.
Let me try to get back to the right page. I think I might be good with my comments for now. I think it's about to wrap up. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was the last of your last page there. Okay. Ooh, hold on. I'm going to sneeze, guys.
Bless you. Okay, what?
And welcome. Let us know any of your thoughts in the chat. Thank you for being here. We do like to read comments. So, so on to my part of the chapter here. Chapter 8. Doesn't it appear strange that this organization, which works towards decentralization of political power and the exposure of the insiders, should be so vilified by the mass media, while the Council on Foreign Relations, which promotes centralization of power in the hands of a few within a world government, is practically practically never mentioned. So contact the John Birch Society for further backup information. Belmont, Massachusetts, San Marino, California, or check your telephone directory. Directory for the nearest American opinion bookstore. If one of those things exist anymore, I don't know. It's all digital. Sure.
I was trying to look up some stuff in old phone books online a couple of weeks ago. There's some of them online. I don't think everything, but yeah. Times have changed.
Yep, your precinct. The precinct is the lowest denominator in our political structure. Any politician will agree that whoever reaches and influences the most people in the precinct wins the election. When you break down the job to be done to this least common denominator, it doesn't seem to be nearly as big a job as when you look at those millions of votes that need to be switched. Switch votes? What? Many elections are won or lost by less than 5 votes per precinct. Remember that every vote switch you can accomplish by planting the seed with your book really amounts to 2 votes, as it takes one from the other side. Start your end run in your own precinct now. Lists of registered voters are available from your county registrar. With everyone working within his own precinct, the hit and miss efforts of prior years will be avoided and organizations will be added to this effort. A blanket coverage of your precinct will create talk between neighbors on this subject and thereby greatly increase the number of persons reading this book. And of course, in our case, possibly hundreds of thousands of people doing online.
Yeah.
Your congressman, you have now completed the 3 simple basic moves in your end run, barring a wholesale awakening by the American people. It is probably wishful thinking to believe that the CFR's hold on the presidency can be broken in 1972, but it is possible to block the insiders' men in the House of Representatives. Congress can still lift a powerful voice against the conspiracy if only it would. It can also throw a searchlight onto the CFR stranglehold on the executive branch of the government. No burglar tries to rob a house when a spotlight is on him. With your effort, Congress can be that spotlight. It is at the congressional level that the conspiracy can be delayed at least until there is sufficient strength to rout it. But your local congressional candidate must be forced to take a public stand on the Council on Foreign Relations, that's CFR, its goals and its power in the federal government. Once your candidate is elected, you must make sure that he does not submit to the incredible pressure which will be put upon him in Washington to compromise his principles. The congressman for whom you are laying the base for election must be as steadfast in Washington as he is at home. In personal conversation with you, keep in mind that a congressman must return to his constituents every 2 years for reapproval. And that's the end of my section.
Okay, and I think my section coming up here takes us to the end of the chapter.
Yes, you've got how would you like to be? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, you're right.
Here we go. How would you like to be a congressman who had voted for any one of the 14 signposts to slavery? Wow. Asking to be elected by constituents who had read None Dare Call It Conspiracy. Yep, holding your feet to the fire. It is therefore easier to keep a congressman on the straight and narrow than a senator or the president. The latter run less frequently than congressmen and represent tremendously larger geographical areas. Although it is not easy, it is still possible for a good congressman to finance his campaign from within his district and not be dependent on the insiders for campaign contributions. If there are no congressional candidates worth supporting in your area at this time, support one or more in other areas. Never contribute money to the Republican or Democratic National Committee. That money, except in token amounts, will never reach anti-CFR establishment candidates, most of whom suffer from a severe shortage of funds, at least until they're well established. Only contribute your campaign dollars to those who are committed to fighting the conspiracy. A candidate running on good conservative principles is not enough. We've had many such candidates, and although most of them are very good men, they never come to grips with the real problems, being exposing those behind the world socialist movement. So, organize your end run, pass out your books, and then keep your eagle eye on your congressman and his voting record. This end run concept we are suggesting is not just a game we are playing, even though we use a football term. To summarize, you do not necessarily have to be an articulate salesman to make this end run. You do not necessarily have to know all the ins and outs of the total conspiracy. The book is intended to do this for you. All you have to do is find the wherewithal to purchase the books and, one way or another, see that you blanket your precinct with them. Then force your congressman to stand up to the CFR establishment. It is simple. It is straightforward. It is a workable plan. With 30 million end runs being made during 1972, you can and will rout the conspiracy, turn the tide of history, and prevent the enslavement of yourself and your family. And here is the last paragraph of the book. Remember, seeds planted in 1972 will pay off not only this year, but in 1974 and 1976. If we do not build a large counter-revolutionary base in 1972, the ball game will be lost by 1976. I believe that's the end, and he's talking about 1976, which we know is 50 years ago. We're still kind of dealing with things. It seems like it's still largely the same stranglehold in place. But that doesn't, hey, even more necessary to do something about it now. And the internet and, the people being able to talk on the internet and stuff is really a good thing that, like you were saying, you were able to do a live stream with somebody from, I think you said Kenya?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That didn't happen in 1976 with, unless you were like some, big news, broadcasting corporation with, international capabilities and everything. And I see that it shows some recommended reading, and the first book it shows in the recommended reading is Call It Conspiracy. And then It's a different one. It's Dare to call it a conspiracy. So it's kind of a follow-up, and this is from just a couple of years ago. So it's kind of a follow-up update to the book we've just finished reading and commenting on. I know when you first messaged me and you're like, hey, do you have that book, None Dare Call It Conspiracy? I'm like, I have a book. What's a similar upstairs? I'll go check it when I can. I'm like, oh, it's a similar title. Not exact, but yeah. But it's a good little sequel and brings it up to date. And it talks about the CFR and stuff.
Well, and I think that too, when you even reading that last chapter, you think about the threat of Trump, because he didn't need their money. He had plenty of his own money. And so wasn't beholding so much to buddies, that he had debts to. And is he a perfect man? Of course not. He's not Christ. And so, he's like any of us. I always say that I'm like, if I was the president, there's people who wouldn't like me, because we all just have our own ways of thinking and doing things and ways that we were raised. But I think he's done a real good job with things, as good as any person can. And I just feel like there's a reason why there's been so much. You've seen a lot of different actions happen that weren't happening before with him, where they've just been desperate to get him out of office. And I've just seen just desperation on their part, and even really in both parties, because there's been times that they have both voted against him on different things, vote to impeach him or whatever. So.
Oh yeah. And we used to say, like, there's I don't think he's perfect, but it's interesting that there's now a second president that had 2 non-consecutive terms. There used to only be one example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of would be brought up from time to time as this like historical oddity,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
But
yeah,
he is imperfect, but he fights for America, and I think everybody. We're never supposed to be like everything, we're never supposed to have the attitude or the mindset that everything is dependent on who the president happens to be at the moment. Like as though everything rests on that one thing.
Yeah,
we're
that's
always
true.
Good Americans, no matter if it's Trump or Hillary or Biden or Romney or
Mm-hmm.
or Nixon or Carter or whatever, Obama or Bush. Individuals can still be good Americans. I know that in the movie Raising Arizona, it has like the guy who keeps robbing convenience stores with unloaded guns, and then he's married to the cop lady. But as he's robbing one of them, you can hear him narrating, and he says, "Oh, I had to rob this convenience store because Reagan's in the White House."
Well, and you actually,
it's like the joke that, like, well, it's kind of casting a light on that thinking that people have, like, whoever's in office right now is the cause of all my troubles, or whatever,
Well, another interesting thing that just happened at work the other day is a customer said to me, she's like, "Oh, this is a loose water bottle. I think it came out of one of these packs." You're drinking water now. Or something, a mix. Anyways, that was funny. I didn't know you were going to do that.
The water right here.
That was so surreal right now. I didn't know you were going to do that. Yeah. So there's this loose bottle of water, and she's like, "Oh, well, I can tell this, probably came out of a pack." she said, but I don't know. Is it okay if I have it anyways? And I was like, I don't know that I'm the one to ask, because I was kind of like, that's an odd question. And then she goes, well, I'm going to have it anyways, because, it's between me and God. And I think he's good with it. And I was like, with you stealing? God's good with you stealing. It was just so odd to me. And she was like, besides, water should be free. And I was just like, what other things do you make excuses for that it's okay for you to do something because it should be like this? But it was just the weirdest justification with God. And I thought, he's not going to come and thump you on the head, but I don't know, he might. I wouldn't want to find out. Like, saying that God's okay with that, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
What?
Well.
But, and that's just how things are going. It's like, it's important, what happens to, how far do we go with when we become dishonest and we give ourselves excuses why it's okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, thank you, Christian. And I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be up to next, but I know we have some videos to record of some pretty awesome things that you've talked to me about. I'm not sure as far as like live streams what we're going to be doing, but anyways, thank you to everybody for joining us. I know that this is a book that I had been hearing about for years. It's been my third attempt, so yay, we made it! Good job. So, and if we get some comments later on some of these videos, we might do, maybe do another briefer on it or something, because we can count on things to continue to be interesting and conspiracy to not end until Christ returns.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching the live stream, watching the playbacks. Wake up, but don't give up.
Amen. Well said, Christian.
So, yeah, amen. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks. And all right, everybody, keep having faith in God and keep doing what you know is right. And have a good night. We'll see you later. Thanks. Bye. Okay. How do I get this?
I can't tell.